Okay folks, what we have here is a very ancient pedal. This is a 80s era Electro Harmonix PolyFlange pedal that I originally bought way back when. And I've always hated the bypass mode on this thing. When regular effects mode is fine, but when you hit the bypass, it doesn't have a true bypass. It just somehow has a bypass circuit in there, which always sounded kind of wimpy. And I'm going to see if I can demonstrate the difference between, like, just by plugging the guitar direct into the amp and in the bypass mode in the effect. Okay, here's the bypass mode going through the effects pedal. Now I've got the amp set on just a little bit of grit, just so you can kind of hear. If I had too much grit on here, you really wouldn't hear what's going on, but it's really kind of thin sounding. So now when I just plug directly into the amp, same settings. Here's a lot more punch going on. Now back to the effects pedal in the bypass mode. Very wimpy sounding. So what we're going to do here is convert this pedal to a true bypass pedal. And how we're going to do that is we're going to switch out this switch here with a 3-pole double throw switch, which will allow us to bypass the signal. Basically, we're going to wire the inside so that the effect is always engaged and just basically bypass, you know, the signal from here to here, or going through the effects circuit. Some of the newer PolyFlanges have a status indicator right here, an LED that shows if you're engaged or disengaged. What we're going to do here is wire these two switches in series so that that light will only come on if the power switch is on and the effect is engaged. Okay, well here's a gut shot of the PolyFlange, and here's my not so elaborate workstation. But anyway, here's the diagram I based this off of. This is from Beavis Audio Research, great website by the way. And this is basically a true bypass looper that I just used. Instead of using it as a looper, I just basically use the circuit from it for this. I really like the fact that the switch layout has where it grounds the input, so when the input of the board is being bypassed, it's grounded out, much like as if you had your volume control and your guitar turned down. And here is the wired switch in place, the 3P DT switch wired up. Some of these splices on here I mainly did because this is an old board, and I had one instance where I pulled off one of these wires and one of the lands came off the board. I mean, it's just really kind of a fragile, brittle board, so I thought rather than try to unsolder some contacts off the board, I would just, wherever I could, just take an existing wire and splice it and put some heat shrink around it. Over here I put some electrical tape just to kind of insulate the board some, because it's going to come in close contact with this switch once I turn it over. This switch is a little bit bigger than the switch that was in there before. This is what was in there before. Basically we're just using it as a single pole, single throw switch, so it really wasn't doing a whole lot. So I basically just hardwired that circuit that was going to that switch so it's no longer bypass. It's just the circuit's always on, and now we're just using a true bypass here to bypass the circuit altogether. Okay, we have the PolyFlange back together again. Now if you see when we turn it on, even though the indicator's it's switched on, the power light's not on until we hit the true bypass switch. So now that's actually a engage, disengage indicator. So now we're going to see if we accomplished what we originally set out to do, which was to make the true bypass so that when the effect was bypassed, it wouldn't be sapping out the signal. So the power's on, it's in bypass mode. Now we'll try direct. Sounds pretty much the same to me. Let's try it again. Now, we engage the effect. There's a flange setting. If we turn up the drive a little, it sounds a little bit more meaty. Of course, it sounds a little better, a little more distortion here. There you have it. It's a little bit of an annoying pop when you engage the effect, but I think that's just the nature of the Electro Harmonix pedals from that era. Maybe that'll be our next project. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. See you.